Oh no. Oh, with the edge where it like
Yeah,
opens up.
yes.
Just in it.
So what happens if you bring it up?
Huh?
Did you bring it up? I just want to see what it looks like from someone else's perspective.
No, I haven't. Sorry. Oh yeah.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Yep. There's always like a delay.
Oh yeah.
Is it working? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Do you want me to turn on the you have one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll turn on the projector and bring this one on. Or you're gonna do Gangyo first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll just turn on the projector.
Okay. Yeah. The presentation. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. It's okay. And then if I wanna share. Screen share. No. And then yes. Oh no. That's what they see. No. Escape. Okay. Thanks. We now go
So projector's on, it's just shut.
Yeah.
So I just set that the screen.
Oh,
Okay, do you need anything else?
I think I'm fine. I think we're fine.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you, Al.
Yes.
Well, I know. At Momoka to right now because we have our very constitutional one reading. So I know you feel all busy for registration. Is together with the registration. Each one. We have about region. Oh, yeah. And once we do the registration, and also the one to encourage one more thing. really kind of battle. This last year, federal legislation. It's for SGI. Yeah. All right, thank you, Jasmine.
Yes, you can bring it up in IWA.
Yes, yes.
Just let me know which one you say when you say it, and I'll just go for it. Yeah. I read the story from yesterday of the my sister called me last night. Really, cousin. Hey, I'm going to be mad at me when I told someone else that like you can't go to Sweden. And he was like, oh no. Hey, I heard you met Layla. Isn't she like sunshine? She said you told her about Nami Big Cow. It's amazing. She said that you're going. That you invited her to some meeting on Wednesday. What's on Wednesday? I did another interview. He said, can I come? I said, yes. We'll both come together. Your boyfriend. I can't wait. Okay. Yes.
Where did they go next?
New York.
They went to here. Nam yo ho denge kyo, nam yo ho denge kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo. Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo. Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo. Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo. Namyo Namyo Renge Kyo, Namyo Renge Kyo. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Chapter 16. Good afternoon, everyone. Not sure if we have people on the other line, but it's okay. I don't see you, Shizuka. Come close.
She's like right behind her.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes. Good call. Hold on. Let me try to. So today we're gonna study chapter 16, Shakubuku, Alliance War of Great Compassion. Awesome. So we're gonna have a very brief meeting since there's like a lot of stuff going on. But thank you so much for joining us today, despite a busy schedule and especially in the long weekend. But wanted to just start off with the introduction, and it starts with a question on page 151 and 152, and it says. Question. You insist that the followers of the Nembutsu, Pure Land, and Zen schools will fall into the hell of incessant suffering. This shows that you have a contentious heart. You yourself are in danger of falling into the realm of the Asuras, the world of anger. Moreover, it is said in the Peaceful Practices chapter of the Lotus Sutra, he, a practitioner of the latter day, should not delight in speaking of the faults of other people or scriptures. He should not display contempt for other teachers or the law. It is because you're going against this passage in the sutra that you haven't abandoned by heaven, isn't it? And the answer is, I suppose they learned priests of the time think it is only natural that one should have doubts about this. Therefore, no matter how I explain and try to persuade my own disciples, they still cannot seem to overcome their doubts, but behave like enchantikas, or persons of incorrigible disbelief. These two methods of shoju and shakubuku are like water and fire. Fire hates water. Water detests fire. The practitioner of shoju laughs with scorn at shakubuku. The practitioner of shakubuku laments at the thought of shoju. When the country is full of evil people without wisdom, then shoju is the primary method to be applied as described in the Peaceful Practices chapter. But at the time when there are many people of perverse views who slander the law, then shakubuku should come first, as described in a never disparaging chapter. It is like using cold water to cool yourself in the hot weather, or longing for fire when the weather turns cold. Grass and trees are kindred to the sun. They suffer in the cold moonlight. Bodies of water are followers of the moon. They lose their true nature when hot weather comes. In the latter day of the law, however, both shojo and shakubuku are to be used. This is because there are two kinds of countries: the country that is passively evil and the kind that actively seeks to destroy the law. We must consider carefully to which category Japan at the present time belongs. So, this chapter really talks about, hold on. So based on this gosho, we will examine shakubuku in 7 points. So the first point is only the Lotus Sutra combines a sense of both love and steerness. So the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings only possess the mother-like nature of the Buddha, which refers to an infinite motherly kindness, but they lack the stern fatherly compassion, which refers to the spirit of tough love to prevent people of the latter day from straying on the path of slander of the law. Of course, it doesn't mean that one gender is limited to expressing compassion in one way. And Sensei gives an analogy in the New Human Revolution. And he says, to take a strict stance in distinguishing between good and evil and to show generosity toward others. These two things are in no way incompatible and are essentially part of the same whole. Let's suppose, for example, that someone eats poisonous mushrooms and is rushed to a doctor. Irrespective of who the patient may be, the doctor naturally exhausts all possible means to save the person and also offers sincere words of encouragement. This, we might say, is an example of generosity toward others. It is also likely, however, that the doctor will warn the patient not to eat harmful mushrooms in the future. I am sure there is no doctor who would stand by indifferently while the patient declares, "But poisonous mushrooms are delicious. I want to eat them again." This corresponds to taking a strict stance towards the law. And this is from New Human Revolution, Light of Compassion. And the second point is, shakubuku is indispensable to attaining Buddhahood. And this can be found on page 154, where it says, to have unceasing faith in all people's potential to attain enlightenment is itself true compassion, and shakubuku can be seen as a primary practical means for implementing or giving expression to this compassion. To put another way, the practice of shakubuku is indispensable to attaining Buddhahood. And intellectually believing that all people possess a Buddha nature doesn't mean anything without taking action based on it. Simply caring for our own enlightenment only takes us further from it. Persevering in our efforts for shakubuku is a practical means for attaining absolute happiness and revealing our true potential. And in Sensei's To My Friends on April 26, he talks about this, and it says, when we take action for the sake of others, we are able to manifest greater strength than when we take action merely for ourselves. This is the way of life of Soka. Together, let's lead lives of unwavering conviction. And the third point, it's the will to fight evil is the spirit of the Buddha. So in Nichiren's times, people generally viewed Buddhism as a teaching that inspired to attain a state of inner tranquility. Rather than genuine concern for others' happiness, people were only concerned about maintaining harmony on a surface level. This passive view still exists today. Because of this, people ignorant of Nichiren's conviction criticized him for having a contentious heart and verging on the realm of the asuras when he refuted the erroneous teachings of other schools. So Nichiren refuted that Buddhism is not about escaping reality, but about enabling each person to transform reality and live an ideal life in the present existence. It is only by fighting fundamental darkness and karma that we can establish genuine happiness. And on page 155, Sensei talks about this point, saying building genuine happiness for oneself and others necessarily entails battling erroneous thinking and mistaken beliefs that lead people to misery. This is what the practice of shakubuku is all about. And the fourth point is both shoju and shakubuku are legitimate ways of propagation. And shakubuku is taught in the never disparaging chapter of the Lotus Sutra, means correcting another's false views through refutation and awakening to that person to the truth of Buddhism. Whereas shoju is taught by the peaceful practices chapter of the Lotus Sutra, means gradually leading another to the correct teaching according to that person's capacity and without refuting his or her attachment to mistaken views. So Nichiren concludes that both are legitimate methods, but it depends on the time. This doesn't mean that we sit around, analyze the time, and decide what method we should use. In the latter day of the law, essentially all efforts to teach others about Nammyoho Renge Kyo and lead them to happiness constitute shakubuku. Still, we sometimes hear discussions about which method of propagation is correct. Shakubuku is not a coercion, and shoju is not passively waiting for others to be ready. Both are practices based on a sincere and earnest desire to help others become happy, and we must do both at the same time. With that as our foundation, we can muster up the appropriate courage to speak up and the wisdom to best encourage that person. And Sensei shares, while teaching his followers the shakubuku spirit of not begrudging one's life, Nichiren Daishonin also emphasized the importance of showing people genuine courtesy and respect and of conducting oneself with wisdom. And the fifth point is to stand by idly is spiritual defeat as a Buddhist. And Sensei on September 2016, he called to all the SGI members, please promise with me to work hard over the next 2 years with our fellow members around the world to expand our network of bodhisattvas of the earth and forge ahead with energy, wisdom, and good cheer to make the triumph of mentor and disciple resound into the eternal future of the latter day of the law. Discouraging news are frequent and intensifying. Politics by itself won't change anything. And what we need are more people awakened to the dignity of life and doing their human revolution. Not only that, our mentor is calling out for genuine disciples to emerge. The essence of Nichiren Buddhism is forging a fighting spirit in face of this reality. That fighting spirit is the shakubuku spirit. And the sixth point is shakubuku contains both a rigorous struggle against erroneous teachings and a broad-mindedness to find commonalities. So on page 158, it says, to conduct shakubuku is to carry out the Buddha's practice of compassion, to remove suffering and impart joy. Above all, shakubuku is founded on a profound and embracing respect for all people. Consequently, our efforts in this sphere will not be successful unless we have deep respect for those we seek to guide toward the correct teaching. As all of us who have earnestly undertaken this challenge keenly recognize. So telling people that their faith is wrong is not shakubuku. Of course, Nichiren Buddhism's philosophy is backed by documentary and theoretical proof, but it is our state of life and genuine care for that individual that reaches them. Let's not just have a scripted approach when doing shakubuku, but a broad-minded approach, using our entire life to enable that unique individual to understand our Buddhist practice and advance one step. And the seventh point is shakubuku enables us to forge an indestructible diamond-like state of life. And the benefit of the spiritual struggle is obtaining a triumph state of life. And this is found on page 160. It says, by embarking on this compassionate struggle, we can rid our lives of the rut of inertia, carelessness, and cowardice, the dull patina that prevents our true brilliance from shining forth. Those who tap the depths of their wisdom and persevere in their efforts to lead even one person to happiness can break through the binding chains of all kinds of preconceived ideas and prejudices and defeat the alienating ignorance of disbelief and disrespect. Those who battle negativity and delusions can cleanse and polish their lives with a purifying stream that washes away spiritual decay. They can develop an infinitely vast and expansive state of life that desires the happiness of all humanity. Moreover, those who remain committed to this cause can create the most wonderful and everlasting memories for their lives in this human world. And it says, it's never about the other person. It's always a battle of our state of life, conviction and spirit to never give up. In our efforts to fight for shakubuku, let's not be discouraged by others. Sensor writes in the Human Revolution about President Toda's encouragement. As you may well be confused, Toda said, beaming because there is no such thing as forceful propagation or mild propagation in the first place. All you need is overflowing compassion for the other person. I know some of you shout at the other person, are you going to take this faith or aren't you? That is rude behavior. Some even go to the extreme of saying, you'll receive punishment if you don't join. That is intimidation. Instead, say something like this. I see you're suffering. You can become happy when you start embracing the Gohonson. Why don't you make up your mind and try? This is the way to propagate this Buddhism. Do you understand? The questioner did not reply. I'm not saying that you should try to humor the other person because that won't achieve any effect. So they continue. No matter what they may say, always wear a smile and speak in such a way as to pierce their hearts. And he continues, for instance, you can become happy through this faith. You'll even be able to cure your twisted nature. The person may fly into a rage, but pay no attention. Remain cool and serene and just look up at the ceiling. So this is from the New Human Revolution, and just wanted to just share. I mean, I know, this chapter, it talks about, it's all about shakubuku, but I feel also, when doing shakubuku, it's really about our behavior, right? People know about this Buddhism, based on how do we behave as a human being. And I feel for me, especially, lately at work, it's always about really being, I really like the last part, right? When it says, get rid of our lives of the rust of inertia, carelessness, and cowardice, the dull patina that prevents our brilliance from shining forth. Those who tap the depths of their wisdom and persevere in their efforts to lead even one person to happiness can break through the binding chains of all preconceived ideas and prejudices and defeat the alienating ignorance of disbelief and disrespect. I really felt that, really touched on what I'm going through at work. Just being able to just respect the other person. So I feel like so many times I don't disrespect my coworkers because I just see so much negativity going on. But at the end of the day, it's really up to how do I behave as in every situation, especially when I'm trying to bring, some of my coworkers, to the 50K festival. I really have to be mindful and really bring the Buddha to work, because I feel like I'm just caught in the negativity of what's going on in my environment. And that's when I have to really, be able to have a high life condition to say, yeah, I have to show actual proof, that I have to win, in whatever situation I am. But it's a challenge, but I'm determined to change that. So with that, I also wanted to give the floor to Victoria to share her shakubuku experience.
So thank you, Monica, for that wonderful presentation. I think it's exactly what Sensei said. It's really about winning over yourself and your own doubts in your heart, because when the results that you really want aren't seemingly showing themselves, it can be very tough to continue. Very tough to think like, okay, maybe there's something in my life. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I haven't had enough experiences to really accurately convey. But all you can really do time after time is just continue trying. And sometimes it really does help to do it with someone else, but not necessarily like Mr. Tanigawa, the Soka Gakkai vice president, who was just, here and advising the youth and really giving us these wonderful points of guidance. It's like we can't necessarily look at someone and say, oh, they will practice, but they won't. I'll share it with this person, but I won't share it with this person because I'm sure they're not interested. We really miss, 100% of the chances to really be able to impart this wonderful philosophy of hope and of dignity and respect for human life by, not having the compassion to at least be able to, offer just one single phrase, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Yesterday, I was with my region women's leader and her wife, and we went to lunch. And it's a spot that I love going to. And I'd already previously introduced one young man who's come out intermittently to meetings in Capital Region. And my father and I were able to dine at that restaurant a few days before, and he was there and he was our waiter, and he was just so bright and he was so shining. And he's just like, I've had this really awful week. He said, but I continue chanting every single day, even if it's only a little bit. He's like, I can feel the difference in my life. I had a table, he's a waiter, he said I had a table and they charged up this bill of about over $200 and they just walked out. He said, and I was so defeated. I was thinking, what did I do? Was I not quick enough? He said, but they were going to dash regardless. So he said, so I just chanted, to have the courage to continue doing my best at work. He said, and the next day, I got a table and they gave me this huge tip. They paid their bill and I haven't had any more issues. He said, so this chanting thing really works. And it just made my heart so glad, because it seems like every other person, you may share this philosophy with, they may not ever really share their struggles, and you think, oh, they're not interested. It has to be all good stuff, where I can't really share how I'm honestly feeling. But just by sharing that, I was so convinced, wow, just sharing with one person and one person being able to see that actual proof in their life makes a difference. And we went back to the same restaurant yesterday for brunch, and our waitress was just, she was just a ray of sunshine. As soon as she walked over, and I started thinking to myself, yes, I'm going to share Nam-myoho Renge Kyo with her. And my region women's leader, as soon as she sat down, she thought, we just looked at one another at the exact same time. And we're like, yes. So I had out the Nam-myoho Renge Kyo card throughout the entire meal. And toward the end, I just honestly shared with her. She's like, you all have been the best table. Thank you so much for just being so kind. And there were a few different issues with our meal, but she's like, other people would have gone off, but there's something special about you all, right? And so we thought, oh, we'd like to share this with you. And she's like, thank you so much. I'm on this spiritual journey. My boyfriend and I are both on this spiritual journey. And I think this would align exactly with what, we want to do. She's like, does anybody else know about this? Do people know about this? And I said, yes, actually a waiter who also works here does. She's like, really? Who? And so I told her, my shakubuku's name, and she said, really? So later last night, I got a call from him. I shared with Monica, and I was like, oh no, did I out him as having chanted? And so he called and he's like, hey, Victoria, how's it going? Am I calling too late? And I said, no, it's fine. How are you? And he's like, I'm great. He's like, I'm wrapping up. It's been a really long day. He's like, I'm so exhausted. He said, but I was talking to Layla, and she said that she met you earlier today, and she said that you shared Nam-myoho Renge Kyo with her. That's so amazing. She told me about this meeting that she's going to on Wednesday. what is the meeting on Wednesday? And I hadn't even gotten a chance to talk to him because his schedule is so busy. But he's just like, whatever she's going to, I want to go too. She's going to bring her boyfriend. We're all going to come. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for sharing this with her. So it just kind of made me feel so glad that it's like you can never really like choose who will and won't embrace this Buddhism. But all you can do is really just continue to try and make efforts. And you never know when your efforts will bear fruit or if they won't. But the benefit, like the change in your life, that raising of your life condition is always going to be the same, regardless of whether, it's just planting that seed, and however long that seed takes to grow, but just continuing to make those steady efforts. I just wanted to share that. Thank you. All right.
Does anyone have any questions? Any comments?
I had a question about water. So, like, I have.
Yeah.
So, I had I realized, like, as I was water sex, like, how I struggle with chocolate, which I really appreciate. I really realize that how expansive chocolate is. Like, you naturally, when you think chocolate, it's just really someone was sharing, but how much the 7 points, like there's 7 points to chocolate, right? So really like expanded my understanding and but I think Squatter 6 is similar to chocolate that naturally when I share about justice, I will be talking about and every member of my Squatter 6 or Squatter 9 that I have right now is a struggle because they're so personal. Whether if it's like a run of 20 years or this one, not but this young woman who is a daughter of a member who's rejected to practice her entire life because she just thinks her mom was like a little too strong on her, so she doesn't even want to be anymore. But like recently, I've been able to develop this friendship with her, not because I've been trying to like not talk about this practice because I didn't want to like completely push her away, because especially because she like shared that she wasn't interested in that. But I really do want her to come, and have like that negative perception that she has for this practice. So I feel like every person, there's this like immense struggle, and like as I'm chanting about it, it's also this. I really struggle with this lack of confidence, like they might not want to, or they might not register, even if they register, they won't come, or like they won't really, even if they do come, they won't enjoy it, or like even if they do enjoy it, it wouldn't really mean much. You know what I mean? Like all this like doubts, right? That I have, especially with artists. So yeah, I just keep putting it out there. Also has similar struggles with their goddesses. This is, I don't know, it's been a very I didn't
It's completely gendered.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I have a couple of my friends that are going to the festival that I used to live with, and they think that the SGI is a cult, and they don't care about Buddhism, but they want to go to 50K because they're like, okay, I'll see what's like. And so that's a cause on its own. So who knows what they'll see there at the festival that might change their mind. That's why like everything that's going to be going on, that we're going to be supporting with like IYE and like behind the scenes, like that's what makes it so important, because to make sure that they have the best possible experience. And so I'm not really worried or care about exactly what they think about me in practice, but I'm already feel like it's a victory in my heart that they registered to go. And so I just have to continue to encourage them along the way that this festival is important to them, so they don't like back out at the end. And so for me, I have a couple people in my squad, and one of them is also my brother who doesn't want to go, and he doesn't like practice or like how much time I spend doing that. So like that's been a real struggle for me this year, especially because like now I'm like doing like 10 times many activities this year than I did last year. So it's like I have less time, So, but I feel like as long as I continue to show positive change and growth in my life and overcome my own human revolution and my karmic tendencies, and because they know those tendencies, and I break through using this practice, I feel like in my heart that they'll come to respect this because it's made a big difference in my life. If I'm just stressed all the time and I'm on my phone when I'm with them and reporting, then it's not going to be encouraging. You know what I mean? What's up, Roddy?
I say like I also.
He's like,
You know,
zero
like,
viewers.
I'm afraid to DC region.
Yeah.
No, I just say like I can relate about feeling personal, you know, because I was just sharing like with the guys, you know, like yesterday. I'm definitely at the point of my squad now where it's like I have to dig like so deep, you know, and like really be courageous, you know, to like share and then also challenging those tendencies and maybe like just being persistent, right? Because I know for sure at least two of my guys on my squad, they're down for the festival. Like, you know, I think they would enjoy it. You know, they know about my practice. They respect the practice. But what I realized is that we're not only battling our own demons, but we have to have a life condition to be able to really go to bat, you know, with their devilish functions also. And it's really just been kind of helping me to like look at where maybe some of my friends are. Because if it's doubt that's, you know, showing up as to why, you know, maybe they don't want to go to the festival, then, you know, what else, you know, in their personal life, that personal victory, fighting for, you know, right now in their life, are they harboring that doubt about? How can I encourage them just to like combat that? Or if it's just like myself, procrastination. They have the $20, they want to go to the festival, but it's just a matter of like sitting down and like signing up. You know, what else, you know, are they procrastinating about that's coming this evening, you know, for what their goal is. So I've been really just seeking to like connect each of my squad members on like what their personal victories. So everyone in your life right now, I think it's youth. We're all fighting for something. And so just really being able to connect with what that is. And like Alex said, just continuing to like muster up that life condition to like combat my own stuff. I feel that. So
I mean, I think, well, I mean, I don't have to repeat what Mr. Tanigawa shared, but I think about, you know, yes, that's that's your squad of 9, right? But it's not only, it doesn't stop there. You know, we have to like talk about 50K to everyone, no matter who it is. Like, I think, you know, because again, you know, the challenges, those that are close to us, right? No, but I feel like we just have to trust our prayer. Regardless whether they go or not, then it's about, you know, they have to take that decision. But all that they know is the connection with us. And it's up to us to really be confident that by registering, they're making the cost that they're gonna be there. And if they go there, they're gonna have an amazing time. We don't know what's gonna happen, right? You know, there's so many things that could happen. But I think because of everyone's determination, you know, to have this event as, you know, the starting point of American Kosen Nufu and worldwide Kosen Nufu, right? Like not only in the US, but, you know, all over the world, you know, SGI is chanting for our success. So like we just have to have absolute confidence that those that are there are going to, you know, something deep in their life is going to touch them. Because if we have doubts and we're just chanting, like if we know like, oh, and then what's going to happen, this or that, we're already complete my thoughts.
Yeah. It's almost like a self-fulfilling
Limiting
prophecy.
ourselves.
It's just like, oh, we're gonna fail. And it's just like you're already like talking yourself into that failure. And I think that what you were saying about like the $20 or like, you know, whatever it is, like even if it were $5, even if it were no dollar, like there would always be something holding someone back, right? Oh, it's that weekend. Oh, I don't know. You know, like that indecision. I feel like we can really project that onto other people too. Like if we're wavering in our determination, then like they're gonna pick up on that, and that's what they're gonna also mirror back to us. But last night, Mr. Tanigawa like shared that the battle is decided from victory first. And I think the way that I reflect on that, I'm like, wow, you know, if you're already thinking like this battle is going to be victorious, this battle is victorious because I'm determining it to be so, because I'm a disciple of Sensei, because I really want to show actual proof, because I really want to solidify the foundation of American Kosen Rufu and worldwide Kosen Rufu. And that victory is already decided. And if you're operating from a place of victory and not a place of like already deciding your defeat, then it looks completely differently. Your prayer looks completely differently. It's kind of like starting a semester thinking like, I've got an A and I've got to maintain this A, rather than like, I've got an E and I've got to bring it up. It's a different, you're operating, I think, from a different life condition. I think depending on that life condition, that's how it really like comes out, and the conviction that you speak to people, or how you just carry yourself. You're like, you're practicing Buddhism, but you're still doing the exact same stuff. And, you know, you don't seem to be very convinced. Like, so why would I even care? It's just like, wow, I'm just so excited. Then people feel that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like one thing you said, like I think the hardest thing is to tell people consistently. Like my best friends know I'm doing this, but I've never made that effort to walk through the practice. And it's my hesitation to share that part of my life. That's really my lack of faith. Like my going. And I've really like seen that like Alex mentioned, the biggest changes in the team. Like when we're sharing our struggles, like what is my human relation to my activities that they really feel really sense, right? And these are people who know me like 5-10 years. So it's gonna be a big change for me. And like a lot of my friends where I struggle is like they are in 4 different cities that all have festivals. But like, yeah, I got real lucky. But like they all want to go, like if I'm going, like there's no way that I can like be in San Jose or Atlanta 23rd. So it's really like I'm really struggling for them to be like, just go, and like I'm sure you'll be sitting next to somebody you'll be friends with at the end of the dinner. And it's really again like my hesitancy. Like I've been meaning to email my friends and I've been pushing it off for like a month and a half for no reason other than I just don't want to sit and like don't know what to say. And these are people I talk to every day, but like I'm talking to them about something so serious, and like that's my fundamental struggle is like somehow I'm looking at an activity and my relationship to 2 separate like tracks, you know. And I think that's why like I really appreciate the movement because like there's people in my environment suffering. There's no reason for me not to talk to my friends about my practice other than just my selfishness. That's all it is.
Thank you so much for sharing. I just don't want to have any regrets, you know. I want to be able to look back. I think Mr. Tanigawa said this afternoon. He said, you know, the people who attended the March 16th meeting in 1958 didn't know, many of them didn't know, weren't convinced, like didn't feel that same, that strong connection, but Sensei did, right? And now looking back on that day, so many people who were there, like do have this great sense of accomplishment, you know, for having been there, having been in that number, like really using that as a point of departure for the rest of their lives. So, you know, I just remember like for Rock the Era, I was so afraid to talk to my roommates, like I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're not interested. And like immediately as soon as I came home, one of my roommates was like, why are you so happy? Like, I want to be happy like you. Can you tell me how to be happy? And I was like, what's going on? But, you know, she eventually started practicing. She received her Kohanzen, and then we lost touch. Like we just stopped speaking. But it's my determination to reform that bond with her. And I feel like that's a fear of mine. That's a very deep-seated fear. That's something that I said 10 years, you know, whatever it was, like however long ago, was something that she's holding back from, you know, I don't know. But I have to challenge that. I have to conquer that fear. Yes.
The final comments. How's my contribution? Yes. All right. So if I can ask for those that are here today, you know, as we share in the meeting, right? It's the last week of May contribution. So let's really, you know, together with registrations, let's really encourage, you know, every youth to not lose this opportunity to be part of the significant May contribution campaign. And with that, we would like to conclude if that's okay. Thank you, everyone.